Hello, everybody. Andy Jacob here with the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. I have a great show today. You know, at DotCom Magazine, we talk to so many interesting entrepreneurs that are building their business, that have already built their business, that are scaling their business. And of course, there are all types of businesses that people sort of get into that resonate for their clients. And of course, one thing that's very interesting, especially for me, you know, with this show is voiceover talent. I mean, when we think about it, we think about the world online, we think about video, we think about podcasts. It's so important to present yourself in the right way, to present your business in the right way, to present to the general public what you're all about, what you do, how you do it, and how you're going to impact your clients' lives. So, of course, so many people reach out to professional voiceover talent. So we were sitting around at .com Magazine. We said, you know, let's bring a leader in voiceover talent on the show. We have so many questions. It's such a fascinating space. So we've been able to book Miss Annette Gomez on the show today. And of course, she's the CEO of WUTAVOICE Communications. She, of course, has a great voice. She's everywhere. She's been on a movie before. You know, a lot of people hire her to do the voiceover for their particular asset. So we wanted to invite Annette on the show today to talk about voiceover because it's so interesting. Annette, welcome to the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. I'm a little self-conscious right now because I know you're listening to my voice and you're a true professional. Everybody loves, you know, what you've been able to do besides doing voiceover. You're an award-winning journalist as well, a talk show host. But let's get into it, Annette. Let's talk a little bit about what WUTAVOICE Communications is all about. So let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet. Tell us what you do, and then we have so many questions for you.
So, Andy, you know what? I was a journalist, reporter, anchor, whatever, and I was getting a little burnt out because I went into it a little later in life, in my 30s. And I just said, you know what? I think this is a little bit much. What can I do next? And I knew that my voice, that was my asset. That was my gift. If you go to my website, I talk about, you know, God gives you all these gifts, and that was mine. Not so much the voice. It's about communicating and storytelling, and that's Annette. That's what I was good at. So I decided to take a class, and I said, I call it the Johnny Carson moment, because if the instructor liked you and winked at you like Johnny did, you come back. And she made the first demo. Her name was Deborah Richardson. She's out of Atlanta. And 3 months later, I booked my first gig. It was a health commercial. I am from Barbados. Please don't ask me to do the accent. But it was a West Indian accent. And it was $750, like, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago. That was a lot of money. And it took me 10 minutes to do it. And I thought, I might have something here. And it just took off. Forming the company came later. But basically, that's what I was doing. And I love it. I love it.
And the rest is history. You know, you mentioned, Annette, the Johnny Carson moment for the entrepreneurs watching the show. Many years ago, The Tonight Show, Johnny Carson would bring on stage a young comedian. And when the comedian was done with the set, if Johnny would wink at them and invite the comedian over to the dais, that was a big moment. And that's what all the comedians wanted. So you had your Johnny Carson moment because your instructor winked at you and basically said, yeah, you've got it, right, Annette?
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And I worked really hard. We put a demo together because if you're in this space, you specialize. Some people like animation. Some people like audiobooks. I don't have the stamina for that. But I was commercial. My voice has a tendency to be very soft. So I would book clients in the health spectrum. And, you know, a great thing to have behind you when you start out is becoming a reoccurring client. So I won't name the company, but for a couple of years, I was their go-to girl. And it can be an incredibly lucrative business. But keep in mind, Andy, I was doing, I'm West Indian, so 10 jobs, man. I always had 10 jobs. So I was a voiceover talent, you know, at night, and during the day I would do this. And I'm still doing, I still have a full-time job as a strategic communication planner in DC.
Yeah, I love it so much. Of course, being in DC, it's all about communication. Unfortunately, sometimes in today's world, we don't communicate as well as we should to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the space because it's interesting. When somebody reaches out to you, do you have to write this script as well as do the voiceover, or is the script already written?
No, most of the time the companies have sent over a script. I'm to the point in my life where I can say, hey, that doesn't really sound right. Can we do this? Or I'll put a twist on it. My husband is an amazing support system, so I don't have to go to a studio. One level above us is my closet, and he turned that into a studio. Talking about being in this space in DC, a lot of political VOs come my way lately. And so, yeah, it's been really great.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Annette. And of course, you mentioned something earlier that really resonated for me.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned God's gift. In other words, a lot of people have different gifts in certain areas, certain aspects, and you found that your gift really is your voice and your storytelling. So did you find out about that gift early on as a young girl, or was this something that developed later in your life?
I did, Andy. Great question. I did because I will never forget my marketing guru said to me, Annette, think about the 8 pivotal moments in your life. One of those pivotal moments came in high school. Susan Benjamin, Highland Park High School, Highland Park, Illinois. And she asked us to introduce ourselves. And I'm dating myself again, Andy. I took a bottle of perfume back in the 70s. It was called Gina Tay. And I wrapped my name around it because I never saw Annette anywhere. And I introduced myself through this perfume. Susan Benjamin said to me, you're going to be on television one day. I swear to God. And I was like, okay. But I was born in Barbados, and I remember looking into the television and saying, what are those people doing in the telly? I'm going to be in TV. Okay, so I call them God Whispers because that's probably 2 of 15 that I had. And then I was teased miserably growing up about my voice because you got this little West Indian kid in an all predominantly Jewish area, and it's like you didn't fit in. But for the most part, I would pay attention to the positive spins on things. So I thought, it's my voice. And then a million stories, Andy, but the most other poignant one to me was being at University of Missouri, sitting in KOMU, and they would not say anything to me. The cameramen would not say anything to me in the morning. I thought they hated me. So when I got ready to leave, I said, I don't know. One of them said to me, do you know why we don't talk to you? And I'm like, you don't like me? And the guy said, Annette, you have the most beautiful, soothing voice. And it's so calming, we get caught up. So if those aren't God whispers or gift moments, I don't know what else to call it. So, and then the thing about, the thing that you're teased most about is probably your gift, Andy. So I don't know if I answered your question, but along the way, if I got off track, I would come back to that.
Wow.
Nothing else.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Annette, you mentioned a number of God whispering events, and it wasn't just 1 or 2 or 3, it was a number, 10, 15, 20 of them along the way. And of course, when you get these whispering events, you need to listen to them. So
yes.
Let's talk about storytelling, because you're, the queen of storytelling. You really understand what it's like to tell a great story. How important is it for companies to be able to tell a great story to communicate with their clients?
It's extremely important. And one of the things that you see more now than ever is conversational pieces. There will be scripts that call for an announcer. So you use the announcery voice. But if you want to connect, if I'm trying to sell that brand, then I have to become very conversational. So I'll to give you a little secret. Sometimes when you get a script and they say that, I'll put Andy's name in front of it. It's a deodorant commercial. Andy, let me tell you about this deodorant. That's a different voice than this deodorant is great. You should buy it. So I think communication with the company overall in selling their brand. And I will tell you something else. I don't do everything, Andy. Everything that comes my way, I don't do it. If I don't feel it, then I don't do it because I can't connect. And therefore, you're probably not going to buy the pitch. Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's so interesting that you say that, Annette, because I would imagine as a voiceover artist, if you don't feel it, it's impossible to fake it with your voice. I mean, I would think that really is going to resonate for the viewers watching the show, even in their own business. If it's not resonating with you as a business owner, how's it ever going to resonate for the clients and the people you're offering your service or product to, right?
Absolutely. And I will share this with you. I'm working with a marketing strategist, and she said, Annette, I want you to make a list of the clients that you're dealing with. Her name is Ty Goodwin. She's amazing. And Ty said to me, take time every day to list these clients. And that's what I feel. If I feel something, I'm a big animal lover or a documentary type individual. And so those are the kinds of pieces that I like to do. Everybody's different, but I know what works for Annette.
Yeah, I love it so much because when you hear people's voice and you also see them at the same time, it really makes a big difference. But if you only hear their voice but don't get to see them, then it really is about that internal sort of passion and commitment they have to what they're talking about. And that really resonates for me, Annette, that you say, like, you're an animal lover and, you love. My wife and I are animal lovers too. People that watch the show, we talk about it. So I would imagine that you pitching an animal charity or something that has to do in that vein really connects better than maybe some other things, right?
Yes. And it's about what you design. I hope you're not saying I got a face for radio. You know that old adage.
No.
But yeah, it's what's true and what's down in your heart. Perhaps, and in my family, I lost a lot of members to cancer. So you might see me I did something for Pfizer last year. Sickle cell anemia. I did something, Andy, this made me cry because a lot of times you don't know the script, what it's for when it's handed to you. A lot of times, seriously. And I get the piece back and it's for autism. It's for autism individuals that are trying to live a more independent life. And I get this piece back and I'm boo-hooing. I am so proud of that piece. But it stood for something, And so, yeah, I can't, that connection is just very important. And that's how I operate. Everybody might be different.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Of course, we're involved in an autism charity and a foundation and a charity and a 501, C3 organization. And they're doing such great work. And I would imagine that when they hire someone to do a voiceover, that they want somebody that really cares about sort of the effort, and they care about sort of the foundation. They care about the autism and the people. And, when we talk to people, Annette, it's really interesting because you can kind of see and feel whether they're like real, whether they really are into it. I would imagine as a voiceover person, when somebody calls you from, the Cancer Foundation or a drug company, that they want to know that the person really connects on an emotional level. And like you mentioned, you've had some people in your family, like I have as well, that have passed away from cancer. So I would imagine when you're doing that voiceover, that connection just comes through in an amazing way, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I can't tell you what's in a producer's mind, but I will tell you, I think with that Pfizer piece, a lot of times, Andy, I go in the room and I'm like, oh, I'm not even going to get this. I give it 110%, but I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get this. And that's the call that I'll get. And I want to say the one for Pfizer, the producer said, Annette, I can't believe you didn't think you were going to get this. And I was like, I didn't. I was, Andy, I'm tired. I've got 6 jobs going on, but I try to audition every day. And the guy said to me, I think they said they listened to 200. Think about it. They listen to a lot of voices every day. And he said, but for some reason, yours came through. So you are an actor. I want you to understand, when you're a voiceover artist, you're an actor as well. So what did you draw on for that emotion? For me, about my mom or a classmate that I lost, or a good dear friend that I lost a year ago. And so you become an actor, and so you draw on things. And I think in that particular instance, that's what worked for me.
Wow, it's so incredible. 1 in 200. I mean, that's remarkable. So obviously it resonated from them because of your passion, your commitment. Of course, you said you're an actor as well, but it's really resonates from inside. I want to get to entrepreneurship just a little bit. This has been a great interview. It's really remarkable. I mean, we think about all kinds of businesses, and then we think about what's driving the businesses. And oftentimes it's video production, voiceover production, marketing, advertising, and sort of the communication effort of the company. Now, I know you're going to be getting into speaking engagements. People are reaching out to you already. They're saying, Annette, we want you to come speak to our group. We want you to come out. Let's talk about entrepreneurship because, we have a lot of younger entrepreneurs, Annette, watching the show, and maybe they're hitting a tough time. Maybe they're hitting a roadblock or they're hitting a pothole in the road. Maybe you can share, Annette, some advice to the younger entrepreneurs about what it takes to get through those tough times as an entrepreneur.
Well, 2020 did it, didn't it? 2020 made us think outside the box. And I live in a space on LinkedIn that is just remarkable, Andy. And I always tell people, I use the Tony Hawk approach because I said, I don't care what it is, whatever you are passionate about. That is what you were supposed to be doing. And my sister is, she's an attorney / HR, and she did this assessment recently where she looked at me and decided, I did this test and it came back, I'm empathetic, I do this, I do that. So I think starting out, discovering what it is that you're good at, what makes you get up in the morning. And I know it sounds cliche-ish, but it is so very true, Andy. What is it that drives you? I know they say if you do it for free. I don't know about the free part, but I do know that is 50% of that is it to me. I was always scared because I'm like, oh my God, am I supposed to get an accountant? Am I supposed to do marketing? And I'm still a work in progress, Andy, but I would say dream big, put it down on paper, discuss it only with people that are mind-like, because you get a lot of haters. You get those same people that said I talk funny are like, you get paid for this? Mm-hmm. Very nicely. Very nice.
Yeah, it's such a great piece of advice. I mean, it makes sense in that, of course, what you mentioned with regard to being passionate, people always say, oh, that's so cliche, but it's really true because people feel it. Like they know if you're being real. They know if you're serious. They know if you love what you do. I mean, in my case, I love helping entrepreneurs. In your case, you love helping the companies that you work with. And of course, when Pfizer came back with the 1 in 200 voices that resonated for them, that right there, that's a big, a big feather in your cap. And what you're doing is so interesting. I wanted to thank you for coming on the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today, Annette. But before I let you go, I wanted to talk a little bit more about entrepreneurship because you mentioned something that maybe our entrepreneurs can learn from. So before I let you go, I wanted to talk about surrounding yourself with people that really care about you, because you mentioned there's a lot of haters online and social. I mean, it's really off the chart and really unacceptable, to be quite frank with you. But how important is it, Annette, for you and in your entrepreneurial journey to surround yourself with people that give you good advice? And the reason they give you the good advice is they really care about you. Isn't that sort of the key?
That is it. On a scale of 1 to 10, it is a 20. It is extremely important because you can't let that negative energy in, right? I mean, what does negative energy do? It just brings you down, and then you start doubting yourself. And then one day I was like, but this is the gift that you gave me, God. So if you're with me, who can be against me, right? So that's why it's so incredibly important, because you're going to need that as you go on this journey. Listen, it's not easy. I don't book all the time. I could go a month without booking, so I've got to stay on top of that. And when I'm down, I know who to call. I know who to share my dreams with. You cannot share your dreams with everyone. And that is so incredibly important. A lot of people don't know what I do. They're still trying to figure it out. Yeah. I
tell you, you just said something that's just remarkable. Well, I'm going to have to steal it a little bit, because you said, if you're with me, then who what?
Against me. Yeah. If God's for you, who's going to be against? Who cares?
Who's going to be against you? I love it. I mean, it's so great. Annette, thank you so much for sharing some insight on, not only what you do at, WUTAVOICE Communications, but bringing us inside sort of the voice communication business, and also sharing with us these ideas about God's whispering to you, and all these great quotes, and the way in which you lead your life and the way in which you live. And it's super good to have you on the show. I loved it. So Annette, thank you so much for coming on the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight series today.
Thank you. My pleasure.